right, sorry everyone. Thought 15 minutes would be enough time for me to get ready, but kind of wasn't. So welcome to another live broadcast. Tonight we're doing Silver State 2. I think this was kind of the first sequel I did, because people often ask me to do, another DNC or, go do Southern Nats again, stuff like that. But I don't like doing the same race twice. The exception is when they change venues. And with Silver State, they did exactly that. They moved from RC Tracks Las Vegas and moved it into it's one of the casinos, the South Point Casino. It was a really, really interesting venue. This is, you'll see all about it in the broadcast coming up. This was a pretty fun one to do. Any race that's held inside a casino has got to be fun, right? So, yeah. First of all, I want to just, last week, so Ty gets a lot of negative feedback on a lot of these videos, and I read one of the chat messages a little wrong. It sounded like somebody was slagging on him, but they weren't. So Russell Greedert, I'm sorry I called you a dick. You weren't. I was the dick for misreading your message. So yeah, it's just, I get a little twitchy when people start bad-mouthing one of my friends. And you were not doing that, so I apologize. Anyways, tonight's episode is, I did a narration switch. I went away from Mike and went with Charlie Shawenka, who's quite well known for his work on live RC broadcasts. Him and Scotty used to have the Charlie and Scotty show, although if you talk to Scotty, it's the Scotty and Charlie show. But either way, they used to have, when I first got into watching live broadcasts of races, that's all I knew was Charlie and Scotty and Charlie. And I really like Charlie's voice. Mike is amazing. Like, I just love his voice. He's kind of like almost the voice of the industry from my perspective. But I just wanted somebody with a little bit more of a kind of a party voice. And I mean, if any of you've seen Charlie at these events, he likes to party. So I just, I wanted to use his voice for this one, and it worked out great. And it's always nice to change things up too. I'm sure Mike wants to watch an episode and actually enjoy it. Whereas, when he hears his voice the whole time, maybe he doesn't enjoy it as much. So maybe he actually liked this one the best. Who knows? So anyways, that's why I went with Charlie. Let's see, is there any other information I can share? One thing I did start this episode out with, it was like my favorite thing to do was to go back to the RC Tracks of Las Vegas ruins. And started out with just the coolest musical score with some Bear McCreary music from the show Battlestar Galactica, the 2004 reboot, which is an awesome show. And my laptop just rebooted. Had my chat on it. Oh, there we go. So yeah, I'm going to just switch over to my awesome laptop here, and we'll get going with this video, which is Silver State 2. There's Billy Fisher. Whatever happened to Billy? Anyways, I present Silver State 2.
You just knew that when you came to Silver State, you were just going to be miserable for 5 days and, just...
So Billy's actually referring to the Boulder track, which was out in the open, and there was wind, dust, rain, snow, sleet, you name it. It was like the worst conditions that you can imagine.
RC Tracks of Las Vegas changed all that. It was the crown jewel of North American RC racing facilities.
It's fantastic. It's by far probably one of the best I've ever been to. I mean, they've gone all out with the driver's stand, pits, track. I mean, it's awesome. I think everyone really thinks it's good.
This place is amazing. I mean, absolutely incredible. For the short amount of time that RC Tracks of Las Vegas has been here, they've done it right.
I think it's really cool. It's a very professional facility.
They put a lot of money, a lot of time, and you can tell they really wanted to show that they're...
Yeah, rumors are this was like a $250,000 facility. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but it was pretty awesome.
OCRC, you can tell there's a lot of pride there, and I would say this is on the same level as OCRC, but an outdoor facility. To make your track unique, this is the kind of stuff they got to do.
So yeah, this was the message that David Telefero posted. So him and Chris Tocco were joint owners of the track. I believe Tocco was the labor and David was the money. But as of 2018, when I filmed this, RC Tracks was still there for the most part. So it was like the driver's stand was still there. Basically everything was there except for pit lane.
Even in death, RC Tracks is still both charismatic and mystic.
My only regret is I didn't steal stuff for my memorabilia wall. Like I really should have stolen that IFMAR logo or something like that. I mean, borrowed without asking. I mean, never mind. Yeah, that was kind of a planned shot. As soon as I saw the facility was still there, I kind of wanted to try to get the same angle as what it was when David won. I was a little lower, unfortunately, but it was close enough.
Also held countless standalone races.
And there's the signatures of the owners. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of come drive with us history there. A lot of people made a lot of history at this track. So to see it go away was just so gut wrenching. It was just hard to watch. Hard to be there in its ruins. But you can see it this was as of 2018 May. It was still could have been used as a track. Just saying.
But what will become of the storied Silver State race?
What will become of Silver State indeed?
It's been a difficult few years for the hobby industry. In addition to tracks closing, some of the industry's leading companies were sold or have entered financial.
Yeah, so this is from 2016. 2016 was a rough year for Hot Bodies and for a couple other companies. And it was also bad for the internet.
You could be right here in this little screen.
There was so many flame wars happening. You know, there was the whole Waldo thing with Dead RC. And yes, that was a meme that I made.
Oh man, you could just go like this and then turn around and just be like, oh man.
Because the whole keyboard warrior thing, it really hurts industries. Like it works in even satire comedy. It works in some industries like the NFL, motocross. I'm sure there's lots of satire news sites that work. But in RC, it's such a small industry, and it doesn't work. Like we just gotta be nice to each other, I guess.
That certainly is what most of us assumed would happen to this race.
So yeah, when RC Tracks Las Vegas died, my first question was, well, what's gonna happen to Silver State? Because it's been a fairly long-running event. And when I heard that Joey was taking it over and moving it to Vegas, I'm like, well, where's he gonna move it to? And I think Kenny Johnson is the one who kind of aided in that. I mean, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that he got Joey in touch with the right people, and South Point was a perfect venue. Like it was perfect for the race.
He went all out. He managed to secure a location inside of one of the casinos.
Ooh, I got to keep it low. We got burned with some licensing stuff last time. I'm not going to do the same mistake again. So he built 2 tracks in 3 days. He did kind of a practice track on the one side. I think they were running some 5th scale on it as well. If I had one complaint about this event, that would be the only one. Well, there's a little bit of I did a screen replacement on that billboard. The ad was running. It just looked like crap, so I put the real ad on. Anyways, like I was saying, my only complaint was that they were running the 5th scales. They were loud, and the dust was just crazy inside. A few people were pitted outside, but the bulk of them were pitted where you just saw inside, but it was really dusty inside. Outside, it was super hot because I believe it was like 100 degrees that weekend. It was super hot. Yeah, here we get a shot of the outside. So it was like Proline was out there, AE was out there, and I believe X-Ray was outside. And there's a shot of the casino, one of the few aerial shots of Vegas I've ever done. I mean, I didn't do it. That was a purchase shot. It wasn't me. Jimmy Babcock was the RD. Here we got Tebow having some fun. Ryan Lutz always being goofy in front of the camera. There's Ben Sterling. He made the trip all the way from Australia, and that was Robert Bauer's wife. They came from the Calgary, Alberta area. And this is a shot of Robert there. I was really stoked to find out what his backstory was, and we'll get into that momentarily. There's CJ Jellin, one of the phenoms in the industry. He was still with X-Ray at that time. Yeah, and there's Ben Sterling again. And I got to feature Joe. And there's Mark Sousa out of Ontario, Canada. Got quite the Canadian cast in this one. 3 characters. It's pretty awesome. 4 if you include Ty, I guess. Or is Ty the 3rd? Whatever. It was a fun shoot. It was pretty challenging because it was indoor and it wasn't the best lit, so it made the slow motion. The slow motion's always challenging when it's dark inside. And this one was, of course, produced by Todd and myself. one of my coolest intros. I had some time to kill, so I made a really fancy intro. That's usually the litmus test. Making RC great again.
The RC Tracks closures left a void, one that will be difficult to fill. But Joey is looking to the future, and his hopes are that the Silver State becomes the new indoor Worlds.
Well, it wasn't necessarily that I felt like the race needed to be indoors. It's just that I feel like having it at a casino and a big hotel would just be a really awesome thing. And this was one place that we've been working with that had an equestrian center and plenty of dirt for us to use for what we
So I can't remember what the arena they were in was used for specifically, but the cool one would have been next door because they actually had stadium seating. I think it was a little better than, it was similar to what they have at PNB next door. But unfortunately, I think that one was like, wow, 60 or 80,000 for the week versus whatever this one was. It was way more money either way. But we were all really curious what the dirt would do. Vegas clay is pretty notorious for blowing out and bombing out, as you can all remember from the 2016 Worlds. They really packed it down good, but we would find out how bad it would bomb out. And it didn't take long to start developing ruts. I remember I didn't race at the event this year. I raced at the one the following year, and there was literally ruts that consumed buggies. They were that deep. I shouldn't even say ruts. They're just holes.
Banners are hung.
Silver
Ronnie.
State, 2018, indoor. It's beautiful. Super big, fun venue. I don't think it gets any better than this. Pretty fun putting on a Vegas show.
Team managers prep their branded pop-up tents in preparation for the arrival of their star drivers.
This place is pretty rad, dude. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on, but it's getting a little smoky in here, so they just kicked all the vents on. So they didn't have the vents on originally. So
If I recall, they had some issues with the vents or the fans. So the first little bit, it was pretty bad, especially for me. I was on the track for half hour, 45 minutes at a time, and it was brutal. Like I didn't have any respirator or anything, so I was dying. Like I was staying towards the back, like away from pit lane. Pit lane was where it was just horrible.
Hopefully this could be an annual event. It's something that's needed to be done for the hobby for a long time, and if we can keep this going every year, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and hopefully make our hobby more mainstream.
I like it, honestly. Guaranteed, we're not going to sweat out there.
It's not going to rain.
It's not 100 degrees in here either.
we don't do much 10 scale or 8 scale racing.
Yeah, so inside it was like about 70-ish, 65 to 70 Fahrenheit. Outside it was 100. So it was actually pretty good. For the guys pitting outside, though, I think it made engine tuning a little sketchy because obviously, you're outside. You can't really do any bench tuning out there, and you basically have like 10 or 15 minutes before your race to get it tuned up. So it's a challenge for sure.
Inside, we're probably going to tell you a different story, but on day one, it's pretty good.
If there were any negatives about Silver State so far, there were only a couple.
No smoking. That's so ironic.
This is nothing new for indoor nitro races. The other potential issue was the driver's stand. More specifically, the lack of one.
That's a little sketchy. I don't know. It seems like people are sitting in front of the drivers and people like drinking beer.
Yeah, so there's Adam Drake. Actually, he lost his poop on a guy because he was standing right beside Adam drinking a beer, and he was asking questions during Adam's qualifier. So it was brutal. They did rectify this for 2019, but I think it was a permitting issue in 18.
This installment of the Silver State race was more like a 4-day house party. A really big house with some racing in between.
Here's Adam getting his exercise. Got to keep it down because I don't have a license for this one.
The dirt, which still hasn't come in yet, is still very loose for the seating practice.
Yeah, so this is seating practice we're watching. There's Adam. He was running back and forth, getting something for Rhonda probably. But anyways, this is seating practice, and there was very little grip. So apparently it was 2019 that it really bombed out. It didn't bomb out that badly this year, but in 2019 it literally went down to the concrete. So we're talking 6 to 8 inch ruts, holes, whatever.
On a top 5 already, on a top 5 list of a fun race.
Oh man, we're having the best time ever. Plus, it's just cool to see, you know, you recognize these people over 20 years of doing it, and it's just fun to see them in a new environment.
Would this positive vibe continue, or would someone end up getting shanked come A-Main's time?
There's some backstory there. I'm not going to get into that, but somebody almost did get shanked. I think you need to ask Lerone, Kevin, and Adam that story. So Caesar, yeah, I was running the same equipment at this race. I was shooting on Sony FS7, and I think my B camera was a 700. I don't know if I really used my B camera much at this one. I think for the track follows, I just had my camera set up so I could just run up and fire it up. But yeah, here's CJ. He's talking about doing homework.
High school next year. Looking forward to
Grade
that.
7.
Got a girlfriend?
Nope.
That's my token question. I always ask him if he's got a girlfriend.
Neither does Ty.
Next time I see him in 2022 or whatever, it's gonna be my first question. Hey, got a girlfriend, buddy? And here's Mark giving him dating advice.
See, now you're putting me on the spot. You get a girl, that's it, you're done. You're finished. I'll stay single. The edge will be gone.
CJ, only 14 years old, hasn't quite discovered his edge yet. As a result, he and Kevin have modest hopes for this race.
I would like to see him make the A-Mains. I think that would be a good finish for him.
Making the A mains and not finishing dead last like I did at DMC. Yeah, that's my goal.
Reason you can't be right up there.
Gord Tessman uses CJ's interview as a coaching moment.
Yeah, so CJ, he was being a little too hard on himself, I thought, because I mean he's a top 5 driver at any of these events at this time. I'm not sure where his racing program's at now compared to them, but back then, I mean, he was a contender. He was selling himself short a little bit. It was actually pretty cool to see Gord using it as a coaching moment.
With the track spawned Kevin to head over to the Proline tire truck for some recommendations. Daniel has come prepared.
Some of those corners are getting really edgy. Yeah, I mean, I brought like everything in the kitchen sink. I mean, I've got like 4 different compounds, 6 different tread patterns, and we've never raced on something like this. So I didn't, you know, unsure of what was going to happen. You know, I've seen pictures of them racing BMX, and it looked like it was super hard packed, you know, and I think.
And it did get hard packed. I can only use 2019 as a reference for myself. It got hard packed, and I think we were on some fairly hard tires. But I mean, the racing line was fairly narrow. If you got off it at all, it was kind of loose. A lot of dust on the outsides a little bit, so you wanted to stay on the racing line for sure. And I was curious what that would do to the track as far as the racing, as far as would there be spots to pass.
I think it's going to get freaking rough. If people are going to say it has character, it's going to get freaking rough. No character. Character is the stupidest thing ever.
This whole sequence was Joe's idea.
How many times do you think people are going to say character is the biggest? A lot.
The track's going to blow out. It's already getting a lot of character. The jump faces are getting these character.
It's going to get a little bit more character, and I think it'll be fun.
The track has some character to it.
It's definitely got character.
I had to coach her to say it.
It's good. It's getting some character now.
Some great character to it.
Round 2 now. Track's starting to get a ton of character. Starting to look like a motocross track out there. A lot of character, a lot of character.
Oh man, Jimmy got 2 there. It's crazy.
Here's character, man.
Yeah, that sequence, that was Joe's idea. Actually, right after his interview, he told me, you got to go around and ask everybody about character. And every time they say it, you got to just put a number and like just keep count. And I think I actually carried that tradition on to other events. I'm not sure if the count started at 12 or 13, wherever we left off here, but I think it did. We'll find out in a couple weeks when I do DNC 2. Or the Worlds, whichever one's next.
So who was the fastest? In the coveted Nitro Buggy class, it was the rough track specialist Jared.
So Jared's really good at rough tracks. I'm not sure if that still's the case with Techno. I don't know too much about that buggy, but at this time he was running the Kyosho MP9 TKI 41787, whatever. He was running, and then he was running their 777 Truggy thing. As old as it is, it was actually super good on this track.
Track surface.
Would young drivers like CJ adapt, or would the wily veterans rule the mains?
So this was all just the seeding practice build-up. I can't remember who was top seed. I think it might have been Jared. The Canadians, So every time I see Owen from Red RC, first thing he says to me is, Moose, eh? Sorry, just responding to a text message. I bet they do. I bet they do. Anyways, Robert Bowers. Turns out he was like a rodeo superstar. He was actually a bull riding champion of the Calgary Stampede, that's kind of like the IFMAR Worlds of rodeo, except it pays a little better. This is some footage that I found of him actually doing his thing on a bull. This is just insane. He's a badass. Robert Bowers is a badass. That's it.
There was 3 years I was in the top 10 of the world. It was 1997, 8, and 9.
Top 10 in the world,
those
folks.
Those were the years that I had my best years and did a lot of rodeo on down south here.
And he's deathly scared of insects. Like even an ant would scare the crap out of this guy. Rides a 1,200-pound bull, but can't see a caterpillar or butterfly. Makes him scream like a little girl. It's awesome.
The day when I was coming down, Gord sent me a picture of the bulls, and he said, "Oh, hey, they brought you some bulls for you to be at home with." And I said, "Oh, dang it, I brought my wrong gear bag." So.
With the rodeo days over for Robert, he transitioned to RC.
So yeah, he had a lot of surgeries. I think. Did we miss this? Oh, here we go.
I kind of laughed at him. I said, "That's silly. You don't want to do that."
Here he's talking about his RC career, or how he got into it.
Times and had a lot of fun. Ended up meeting Tessmans in Medicine Hat at the track and just fell in love with it then.
So yeah, he was friends with the Tessmans. They got him into RC.
Injury is something that is synonymous with rodeo.
So there was actually a college rodeo happening at the same weekend, so I got permission to get ringside or whatever you call it.
Long list of injuries. We could be here all
Oh, here he
day.
talks about his injuries. This is great.
Both my ankles, broke my arm 6 times, my collarbone 3 times, my jaw shattered it, ribs, collapsed the lung once, broke my elbow once, tore my knees up, both my knees a couple times. After having 11 surgeries and to feel as good as I do and be as mobile as I am, I'm pretty happy. I think it came out pretty well.
Yeah, 11 surgeries. So RC is a little bit of a safer alternative for him. But I didn't even know any of this about Robert until this very race. And so, like I was saying, there's actually a rodeo happening in the arena next door. I shot some B-roll there, got to hang out with some of the cowboys. And yeah, film them doing their thing. And I just thought, wow, these guys are seriously like the bravest people I know. And so now Robert does RCs. I think he did mostly e-buggy. I don't think he did any nitro classes. I'm not sure why. Maybe just because he doesn't have a pit guy or something. But yeah, he was running X-ray and he was helping the team. You know, they were asking him questions about his tires, and he was passing that information forward to the top drivers like Mark Sousa and CJ.
In the scene, winning a world's title tends to do this. There is an up-and-comer that could very well have a bright future in RC.
My name is Mark Sousa. I'm 17 years old. I'm from Everett, Ontario, Canada. Small population, I think like 1,000 people. It's very small. I've been racing for, I think this is my 12th year right now.
The Sousas have been part of the RC scene for quite some time.
So Derek used to race at a pretty high level, but I think he got a case of vaginitis, and he ended up getting married and dropping out.
Dumb stuff at the track than racing.
Mark has been hearing that for years and years, but I think the tables have turned now, because I think if Derek comes back, I don't think he'll hang with Mark anymore.
Tony assumes the difficult role of being pit pop.
Sometimes the Portuguese comes out, you know, and then I have to...
Some B-roll from Nitro Challenge that year.
Trying to stay more calm. I think I get a little bit more fired up when my wife is around.
Yeah, Tony he's hard on Mark. He pushes him pretty hard. I know Tony and I kind of got into a yelling match because I felt he was being a little too mean to Marky. That was in 2019, and I had to go walk around because I don't know, I didn't want to get into the race program too much. But man, he was yelling at that poor kid. But Marky deserves it because he forgets weird stuff, engine bolts, you know, wheel nuts, fuel. He forgets weird stuff.
I feel like I can do really good. I just right now I want to make the main and then see where I go from there.
In the second
again, I think Mark was selling himself a little short because he can hang with these guys. He can do damage in these mains. He's no slouch, and it's really surprising because, like, you know, the scene up in Canada, I know it's a little bit more competitive in Ontario than it is in Alberta, obviously, but it's tough for these guys to really push themselves. Yeah, because they're not racing with the world's best. They're racing with average Joes. So it's pretty tough for the Canadian guys to get fast. Yeah, Mark, he had kind of an up and down weekend. I think he made both A's, if I recall. We'll find out by the end of this video. In Truggy, he was doing a lot better for sure.
Mike Truey, Tanner Denny, Cole Ogden, and Mark were grouped tightly together.
Yeah, so he's hanging with some pretty fast guys. Tanner Denny's no slouch.
None of them do well. Well, this was not true for Tanner. The rest all suffered with runs outside the A main grouping. Mark was in 17th.
Yeah, so 17th, he's outside looking in.
More, how can I say, not being intimidated by the pros behind him when he's in front. And that's like a little bit of the negative. The positive is that he's really come a long way compared to when he used to drive. I think it's because we're doing a lot of big U.S. races, so
yeah, and that's the key for any of you guys that are getting into this. Try to get to these big races. I know that some of them aren't super fun. Like a race like this with so many entries, you just don't get much stick time. But they're so crucial in your development. If you want to take your racing program to the next level, definitely you gotta race against some of the top drivers for sure. I know for me it's really humbling. I don't usually enter in the same class as the top drivers, but even still, like there's some super fast people in the intermediate class, and it's humbling. Speaking of up and comers, this is Jerome. He is going to be awesome.
The veterans of the industry have always been willing to step up and help out the younger racers.
I would say when I was young, like growing up racing, Matt Francis was someone that I looked up to. I ended up rooming with Matt quite a bit at the electric races when I was younger, and just all around good person, super helpful, and just kind of tried to follow his lead a little bit and do the same myself.
They were good, but my car got hard to drive, and long story short,
This is Tanner. He's one of the younger drivers. He didn't really do as much as I thought he would in his career. I mean, he's super fast, but when I saw him first time in Reedy in 2014, I was really impressed with a lot of his driving. He was really young at that time. I think he's about the same age as Ty, maybe a year younger. But I don't know how much he races. That's the other thing.
Good sign, because that tells you that the hobby is going to keep going and growing, and more competition for us, but competition's good.
While Ty and CJ are competitors on the track, off the track, Ty assumed a role of mentor, giving advice whenever and wherever.
So I know that there was some issues between Kevin and Gord, but I really liked how Ty and CJ got along. Like Ty was always helping him, and CJ was really receptive to his advice. It was not only setup advice, but it was also like driving tips and stuff. I really felt that they had a good relationship going, a good working relationship. And when CJ and Kevin decided to leave Extra, I was kind of disappointed for CJ, because I thought Extra was the right place for him, but obviously they thought different. And this was one of the last races. I think Perth was the last race. So that's the next episode. That was their last race with X-Ray.
Truggy was the exact opposite. Round 1 saw CJ way back in the 30th spot. In this second round, he was on fire. Currently, CJ was in the 4th spot.
Yeah, 4th overall, and this was a competitive field. It was the full complement of top pros was there. Not so many of the Euro guys, but it was all the top U.S. drivers.
A bobble on his penultimate lap shuffled him back to 3rd, which is where he would finish.
Still, 3rd place was really, really good.
Around any setup deficiencies, both Gord and Ty are still working with him to make improvements on the handling of his Truggy.
steering, the rear has nothing to do with steering. The rear just has forward drive. Do you find your car like twitchy or not? Like so pretty aggressive? Yeah. Whatever. It's kind of aggressive, wasn't it? You can't make this triple either?
I can, I just didn't want to risk it. Had some bad qualifiers, but some really good ones. Last round of buggy, chose the wrong tires. No, it wasn't too good at all. Really slick.
Story of my life.
14th for the round. So, yeah.
What's your drop?
Yeah, it definitely is a...
It's an but still, 14th, again, really competitive field.
If he wants to qualify directly into the
So I think they do, what was it, 2 rounds on one day, and then 1 round the last, and they start lower mains, if I recall. I can't remember. Or does it do the? Yeah, I'm at a loss. I can't remember what the race schedule was, but the days weren't terribly long. We were getting out, around 6-7 p.m. and it was in a casino, so there's all the amenities there. We were able to, go to the bar for an adult beverage or a wobbly pop, whatever you want to call it. Go for a nice dinner. There was lots of options. It was super convenient. Like, I didn't leave the hotel once that whole weekend. I was there, slept there, filmed there, ate there, everything. It was awesome.
Track specialist Thibault would suffer a technical problem in the first round. His 8th place finish in round 2 would help, but it would be his 3rd place finish in the closing round to give him a respectable starting spot in the final.
Yeah, I think he started like from 4th or 5th. I was kind of expecting him to be a little better because he is so good on rough tracks.
First run, but it was Mayfield leading the bulk of the heat race. Ty's car looked a bit too easy to drive, and in the early goings of this event, slower was not faster.
Yeah, Ty's car, it didn't seem to carry as much corner speed as Mayfield's. And it was really down to the 2 of them, if I recall, in buggy. Was it Bornhorst in 3rd? I can't remember.
This week, however,
should have TQ'd nitro car, but I pulled off thinking I was done like a dummy. Truggy didn't go so well in the first round. Just wrong setup, bad driver, I don't really know. But just ran 2nd round of truck and got 2nd to Ty. I had one really bad crash, came back and got 2nd. So I'm excited about that. The truck was better for sure. Both the cars have been really good. The track is just getting worse and worse, which I'm good with.
Yeah, Ryan's also super good on bumpy tracks. I didn't give him enough credit. Like, Jared's good and so is Ryan. The one person who does struggle on the rough is Tessman. I think they've since kind of figured out their shock package, because that's what it comes down to. But at this race, they were still kind of struggling. You could see that Ryan was a better driver on the rough tracks. It just came down to setup and tire selection in the mains, and we'll see that in about half hour.
And was also getting pressured, this time by Jared Thibault.
That was a gimbal shot in the corner, which I love doing.
Ride to the top of the leaderboard with a smooth, consistent run.
Oh yeah, and so this truggy is like 10 years old or 12 years old, however old it is, and it's super heavy. It still has E-clips, and I don't mean E-clip like the crazy nut job from Washington State. I mean like the E-clip that goes around the hinge pin. This truck is so old, but it worked so good on this track. It was crazy. Like, I did not expect that.
Yeah, I just barely took the win. So yeah, my run was pretty just solid. I wasn't the fastest, but just drove clean. Didn't have too much traffic and just kind of did my own thing.
Ooh, wonder what he said.
It was turning into a game of inches.
Yeah, it was really close.
Like I said, I didn't feel like I was like pushing too much. I just was running a pretty comfortable pace, and I was in 4th. Start the last lap, and instead of just sticking to my normal line, I tried to be a little conservative.
So I think in round 1 in buggy was the one where Mayfield, he thought he was called in, and I think he slowed down or something, and I think Tessman took the win in round 1. I think we find out here. I really should have pre-screened this one, but I always forget, day job and stuff.
Dead heat with Jared and Truggy, and Mayfield and buggy.
Didn't drive the best, and
Oh no, that was round 2 where that happened, I think. We'll find out.
couldn't make it over that one triple. And I just kind of had a bit of a brain fart at the end of the straightaway. Lost it a little bit behind pit lane, and then just the timing was off, and I way overshot that. So just a few mistakes, and we're gonna make some changes to make the truck a little easier to drive on the new. The track is a bit different today. Like, it's a lot edgier, I think. So I just take a little bit of steering.
Yeah, day 1 at this race, the track is always really loose. Like, I think we're usually on the Pro Line side, we're on M4s, like super soft tires on the AKA side, and by the time qualifying starts, you're on an M compound, M3, and then you're starting to go to the S4, S3, and by the mains, you're for sure on an S3.
We're gonna do our best to win this thing. It'd be cool to win the first one ever.
The first day of qualifying was officially at an end. With Mayfield and Thibault gaining a ton of momentum, the pressure falls squarely on Tessman's shoulders to outperform them tomorrow.
And there's my second drone shot that I ever used in Vegas. That's the one nice thing about this track is I could actually fly my drone. I mean, I could buy drone footage from an undisclosed site, RC Tracks Las Vegas, there's absolutely no drone flying because it was literally right across from the airport. Oh, this is classic. They're arguing about soccer versus motocross. This was a fake fight. They weren't really mad at each other.
First thing, oh, what do you mean they're what do you mean they're putting their bodies through pain?
Oh, they're just little wee guys.
Those are the toughest guys in the world.
So Gord is arguing that soccer players are stronger than and better athletes than motocross racers, and Tony's on the motocross camp.
Oh, the guy's almost dead. He's almost dead. He just touched him. The guy is dead.
What's the button pusher?
What's a button pusher? Because Gord was just messing with it. It was so much fun. But again, they have a great relationship, Tony and Gord. Was not a real fight. I remember when I posted this, a lot of people thought it was serious, that they weren't. They were just messing around.
Anxious is normal, and I'm not sure why. Yeah, I prefer it.
Oh, one of the interesting things about this race was it was actually a pretty low-key event. Like, yeah, there's here's the Star Wars Easter egg. It was a pretty low-key event, even though there's contingency money up for grabs. $3,000 or $4,000 for the winner. It was actually it had a fun vibe. I don't know if it's because in a casino, it was in Vegas. I'm not really sure. Oh, there's another character.
Well, that's a character. They fixed all the characters. I thought it was fun last night.
So after the first night, they smoothed off the track. They fixed a bunch of the holes, and Joe was a little fired up because he felt it was they should have just left it. Because everybody was used to it being rough, and then all of a sudden it's smooth, but it wouldn't last long. So I think after the first few heats of Sportsman and Intermediate, it got kind of back to where it was before. This is Ben Sterling from Australia giving us his update.
Neo Buggy and Psycho Nitro Blast and Southern Indoor Nationals and stuff. But for me, this is totally new, and yeah, I can't wait to do more of it.
In the Nitro class, after 2 rounds, he is in 24th in Buggy and 26th in Truggy. Not what he had hoped for. The bright spot for him was Electric Buggy.
Electric Buggy, very good.
There's a shot of his radio, the on-off switch, actually. It's a famous story between him and JQ. JQ actually reached over and turned his radio off in the middle of a qualifier at Nitro Challenge. I think it was in 2017. So yeah, when I interviewed him, I made sure to have that on-off switch as what's called a rack focus, where you focus on something in the foreground and then switch it off to something in the background. So I made sure that I had his on-off switch just for the little, unknown Easter egg.
20th place finish for the round, his best for the event. Even though he broke in his final buggy run, Ben was still having fun.
Track's awesome fun. It would be good if it was a little bit higher grip, but man, for the facility and stuff we've got here for this race, you can't complain.
Yeah, it took a while for the grip to come up. But that's usually what it's like for temporary tracks.
Mayfield and Tessman are tied in Pro Buggy. In Pro Truggy, Jared Tebow trails Tessman by a single point. Who would enter the final day of this first ever indoor silver state as the Nitro Top qualifiers?
There's a Bad Medicine cover with just the guitar. I love using covers because no royalties.
Even though Ryan has yet to lose a heat race in e-buggy, it didn't translate here in the last round of Nitro. He was struggling and stuck in the back of the pack.
But the cars are working really well. It's just kind of hard to get going out there because trying to learn the bumps, you don't really get a warm-up lap. So it'll be nice to go out there and run a longer main to just kind of get in the groove of things. And
yeah, he came out of the gate in round 1, TQ'd round 1. In round 2, I think that's when he had his little foobar with the start-finish line or not hearing that he wasn't done. And in round 3, he sort of dropped off a little bit. He really struggled. And at this level, you basically want to go into mains with as much momentum as you can have. So losing your momentum right before the mains is never a good thing.
While he struggled in Truggy, Tebow did anything but in Buggy. If anyone was struggling, it was Mayfield and Tessman, who were embroiled in a battle for the top spot yesterday. As a consequences of being mid-pack, Mayfield would get tangled up with traffic and would finish 13th.
So that one would be, obviously that would be his drop.
Leaderboard. Ty never being higher than 5th in the final heat didn't seem at all phased.
In my car that time, we did some changes to try to get a little bit better, but I think it was the wrong direction. We're going to go back to our old shock package and tune more on that. And then hopefully that's the ticket. I was happy that the tires were good, but not happy how it finished and how kind of hard my car was to drive.
Nevertheless, Tessman has done what he set out to do yesterday, TQ both nitro classes. But what will it take to win this inaugural indoor Silver State?
Whoever picks the best lines and picks the best car setup is going to be the winner at the end.
Yeah, so Tessman would TQ both nitro buggy and truggy.
Over the years, we have been treated to some stunning Silver State races.
Oh, and that was Joe Bornhorst losing a tire at the start of the 2015 Silver State race, or 2015.
Storied race compared to Neo.
Yeah, so the one comparison I always drew to this drew against this race was Neo, because it had that Neo vibe sort of, except it was a little bit more laid back. Neo has a ton of pressure, but it also has like the third highest contingency money. Had the third highest contingency money in the industry. I think it was only behind Nitro Challenge and the IFMAR Worlds, if I recall, on the Nitro side. So yeah, there was a lot of pressure at Neo, and that didn't translate here. This was a super laid back event.
When I was rodeoing, where Vegas was the #1 spot. That was the finals, the national finals rodeo, and that's where we all wanted to be. And I found a way to get back to the show in Vegas.
He would be starting from...
Yeah, so Robert made a couple of the A mains. I think he was in 40 plus, and I think he was running Sportsman. He made both e-buggy mains.
The buggy just felt so good, and Tessman's helped me set it up just right that it just felt real easy to drive, and it felt like I was going slow, which made it just smooth, and that's all it took.
Yeah, I think that Tessman's put them out on Fugitives, and Fugitives are, I think they have a lot of weight to them, so the car, it's a little bit on the lazy side, but when the track is bumpy and ruddy, that's what you want.
I didn't know he was in this race.
Oh yeah, so I thought that Ty was sitting there in the bleachers watching Robert. He didn't even know he was in that race. Like, nice team guy, real nice. Just kidding.
I looked at the list afterwards and seen some pretty big names in that old timers list, and it was pretty cool to see that, and to see where I finished. I was happy with it for sure.
Silver State is now over for Robert. 7th in 40 plus and 21st in the intermediate class.
The other thing I noticed about the surface was there seemed to be a lot of rocks in it, but just small pebbles, and they were actually collecting a lot of rubber. So the grip was really weird. The dirt was slippery, and then those little pebbles would have a lot of grip. So it was a challenging surface to excel on. And I knew that whoever picked the right tire was going to win this race in buggy for sure. Truggy, I mean, Thibaut, his truggy looked so good. He wasn't top qualifier, but his truggy looked really, really good the entire weekend. I knew he would be a threat in truggy.
Sterling will be starting out the day in both Nitro C mains. Only the top 3 finishers will bump out, so Ben will have to push hard.
Just to back it off with the speed a little bit, just try and be consistent.
So C main for Sterling, not terrible in considering the field.
Double single, just lap around and be consistent. Hopefully in the end, the other people make mistakes and I'll end up better off.
Yeah, Tyrone Robinson said the grip was literally all over the place, and it makes sense. Like it just looked so strange because there was some areas that were dusty, others had more pebbles that were covered in rubber, and then there's other parts that were just the hard packed Vegas clay. So it was a challenging surface for sure.
After the last cycle of pit stops, Ben is still on the outside looking in. Will his week end with disappointment here in the C main?
Started off 10th in the C main there, and had a pretty good start, pretty clean. Missed all the crashes at the start, got myself into, I think, 4th or 5th. Then made a mistake myself, went back to 10th, I think it was.
Yeah, and right there you can hear the 5th scales totally ruining Ben's interview. I think when I was there in 19, I don't think there was any 5th scales being run, and I think that's the way to do it. What would be really cool is if they had a track on the one side for the sportsman and the intermediate, and then leave the main track for just the pro class, because then it would stay a little smoother. Because sometimes the bumps, I mean, yeah, they're challenging. Nice crack. They're challenging, but it's just too much sometimes. Like when you have a bump that engulfs an entire buggy, it's a little silly. So it would have been cool to just have a pro track and then a sportsman intermediate track, and make the pro track way more challenging. Because when Joey builds a track and he knows it's going to blow apart, he makes sure the jumps are tame, they're not crazy, and that there's not tons of them. So that's kind of my suggestion. It would be really cool to see a pro and a Joe track.
Different compound tires ready to go, and hopefully our setup is...
Daniel, hey Cougs, how's it going? Yes, Thibaut is running the 55-year-old Truggy. The 12-pound Wonder or whatever it is. It was the 777 based Truggy?
We have 4 pro drivers here, and all 4 made it in the main. All the guys work really well together. Everyone worked the setup together, communicated really well, so it was a real team effort, and I think it was really good.
The mechanics and the racers hunkered down and prepped their equipment for the 45-minute long Nitro final.
So Jeffrey's
At many events, the electric classes run AAA mains. At Joey's events, they run a single 10-minute main. This makes for an exciting race from tone to tone, which Mayfield would be starting from pole. He would be followed by Tessman in second and Lutz in third.
So Mayfield he did pretty good in e-buggy. It just didn't translate to nitro buggy. He really dropped off in that third round. I wasn't sure if he'd pull it off, but again, it really came down to who had the best tire. And it was and it wasn't a tire war. Every manufacturer had a good tire. I think again in Vegas it's kind of owned by AKA. So I thought, well, AKA's kind of got this dirt figured out. They really did at the Worlds in 16, and it's sort of the similar dirt. I know at RC Tracks Las Vegas, Chris Tocco says he brought in custom dirt or different dirt from somewhere else, but it still is Vegas. It still blows apart, and it still has the same kind of consistency to it and the same grip levels. So I just felt that AKA just had a little bit of an advantage. So I thought, Tebow's a threat in every class. And you can see here, Mayfield's really getting quite squirrely. I just didn't think that JC had the tire at this race. And I was really nervous for Ty. Obviously Proline sponsors the series, and I love it when one of their guys wins. But I really thought the AKA guys had an edge. So we'll find out.
Joe did good. I should have had it. But Mayfield's in his head. That's the problem. Mayfield.
Yeah, so Joe was battling with Mayfield, but like Ryan said, Mayfield was in Joe's head, and Mayfield ended up winning.
I feel bad about what happened at the beginning. I don't know.
Or beating out Joe. I can't remember if he won or not. And then Lutz ended up crashing onto Tessman. I think he broke Tessman's shock tower, so he felt kind of bad. But it was a racing incident. I don't really know if it was Lutz's fault or anything, but.
I was able to take the win, so really good.
He took the win uncontested and leads the team rivalry with Joe.
I don't want to talk about it.
Joe has another chance for glory in the Pro Truck.
I really liked those two when they were on the same team. It was pretty awesome. And incidentally, I was standing on a chair for that interview because Lutz is, I don't know, he's like 18 feet tall and Joe's like 17 and a half feet tall. So I was actually on a chair. Here we got the Truggy A, I think.
The first lap goes according to plan for Tessman, but he has Tebow right on his wing.
You can see how it's really starting to get chewed up and rutted up.
2 laps later, the Ty still hasn't been able to shake Jared.
Yeah, and you can really see like Ty was a TQ, and his stuff was good. His stuff was working really, really good, but Jared was right there with that 87-year-old Truggy.
Their minds. Deeper in the pack, CJ is struggling.
Started out good, and then I started having some mistakes, getting into other drivers, so it dropped me back a lot.
Yeah, poor CJ just kind of had a rough one.
Caught a couple people, and then I'd crash, so really just my own fault. The track was really rough.
What's up, Guru RC? Welcome to the broadcast. Yes, we are Nitro freaks here. Nitro is awesome.
Started fourth. First 45-minute main, so it's a little bit different, for sure.
That's right. This would have been his first 45-minute main because he was in the B at the Nitro Challenge months before. So that's some RC history here. CJ Jellen's first 45-minute main right here. I think Lights Out Nitro JJ asked how old Tebow's Truggy actually was. I think it was 9 years old. I think. Because this was 2018. I think it was like an 01, 02 that came out with that Truggy. In DNC2, Boots was running it, and I think he said what the age was, and that was the following year, but I believe it was 9 years old at this race. Like, dude, it had E-clips. Not the crazy nut job from Washington State E-clip, but actual E-clips. That's how old this thing is.
Ty would occasionally close the gap.
What's up, RC Kevin? So here, Tebow, he got past, I think he got past the Tessmans in a pit stop, and he just kind of checked out. Like he gone.
Strategy was just, not worry about being the fastest and just try to be smooth.
And I'm telling you, like, I think it was just the sheer weight of that truck that helped it. I know Gord's argument is everybody wants as light as possible. He said you don't see people in F1 adding weight to their cars, and he's right. Formula One, they go right to the legal limit. But I don't know if that translates to RC, because Tebow's truck just went through the bumps so good, and I swear it was just because it was a tank.
I was trying to drive as fast as I could, and it just kept making mistakes, and it just kept biting me. So
Towards the end, Ty had cleaned up his driving to suit his aggressive setup a bit better, but it was too late.
I'm loving the track conditions. They're really challenging, and it's kind of just mentality. I was super ready for the main, excited for the track, and yeah, it was an awesome race. Couldn't have really been any better.
Ty and Adam talk about their runs. Given how aggressive his truggy was, Ty is undoubtedly planning some setup changes for the upcoming buggy main.
Just push too hard.
Yeah, and if I recall, he did go with an aggressive setup, and he also went with a softer tire. I think they were on S3, and I think in buggy, I believe they went with an S2, but I could be wrong on that one. Either way, his setup was quite aggressive. So they did learn quite a bit from Truggy. They ended up going to a much more easier to drive setup on his buggy. So we'll find out how that worked out for him.
Ty isn't worried about Mayfield.
probably Jared, just because he's really good at rough tracks. He did good in Truggy, so.
I think Buggy's going to be even more critical. Truck, it was a little strange because you still had to drive pretty aggressive.
Well, the interesting thing about indoor races, what I actually love about indoor races, so during practice, I can go anywhere. I don't get yelled at by race officials if I'm in the middle of the track. I try to stay out of the driver's ways, but I can lay down in the infield, do whatever I want. And the nice thing about indoor race is I can actually use footage from practice or warm-ups of some kind and intercut it into the actual main race to make it look like I was right there in the action, even though during mains it's perimeter shooting only. They don't really even like me in pit lane. I think in buggy, I think Tebow's guy Zach asked me to not film so close to pit lane because I was too close on the exit or something. And it's totally fair because the FS7, the Sony FS7, it's a big ass camera, so it's definitely hard to see around.
Or first lap.
So here we got the buggy start. And it was Tessman, Mayfield. I don't know who was in 3 and Tebow was in 4.
The start is clean for the front runners, but Ty errs just as he crosses the loop to register his first lap. Mayfield takes the lead.
So remember, Ty wasn't really worried about Mayfield, but Mayfield's always a threat. He always finds a way, and he did change his tire package, I think from round 3, or the track just suited his tire package a little better because he was infinitely better in the main. Here we're on lap 4.
Lap 5, and Ty is back in the lead.
And yeah, like Charlie said, lap 5, Mayfield coughed it up.
Mayfield and Tessman have not been able to gap themselves out yet. It's still anyone's race.
And then lap 8, Ty shorts a jump, and it's Mayfield to the lead. And who's that right behind Ty? It is Mr. Lutz. Now, Lutz is a super nice guy off the track, but he's one guy you really don't want too close to you on the track because he drives hard.
Touch with the top 3 of Mayfield, Tessman, and Lutz.
Still a 2-second lead for Mayfield over Tessman.
Yeah, RC Kevin just said Gord was a trendsetter with his mask. He totally was. It's the coolest mask ever. It looks like he kind of looks like it's the Winter Soldier mask. He just needs to grow some long hair, and he's got the blue eyes. So yeah, just some long black hair, and he's the Winter Soldier. Literally the Winter Soldier now because it's damn cold up here, man. It's 0 Fahrenheit today, I think.
To stay on the lead lap.
The buggy main was really hard.
And here we're talking to CJ. He did make the A main and buggy, which is awesome.
Like top 10 most of the race and started.
But he had it was not easy for him. But I mean, this is a tough track to be introduced to a 45-minute A main, because it was pretty bumpy.
Definitely a lot better than DNC, so happy.
Well, if we count all 3 this weekend and the one before, it's our 4th A main as a pro, so you got 5th. It's not bad.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That was really respectable.
It was like Worlds, I would say. That's the best way I can kind of compare it, because it's just, you got to pick your line. If you're in bumps, you're not making the jump, so you got to take it easy for 45 minutes, so it's not easy.
I like that kid. He's super fun to hang with, for sure. There's Mark Sousa in and out. He also made the A. Well, like Gord said, all 4 of their top drivers, they're the pro drivers. They all 4 made the show.
Unfortunately, lap 58 would be Sousa's last lap of the race.
Really rough start. The track was very gnarly, very demanding, and you had to be very smooth and just be patient. And it took me quite a while to get going, but once I did, we were in a good spot.
While Sousa has met his goal of qualifying into the main event, his plan wasn't to DNF and finish where he had started.
And can't remember what he broke. I think it was something in the drive line, if I recall.
To make it better, and I mean, I felt like throughout the day today, we really worked really well as a team to come up with something. We all did really well in the main. I would say for the team, it was
That honk was super loud.
great weekend.
It scared me.
We only look for positives coming out of this race. And
Honka, honka, honka.
for me, just do what I did here and try and make the main at Nationals, and that's my goal, and see what we can do from there.
He wasn't the only driver to DNF on this challenging temporary track.
Off the track in 15. Make sure mechanics stay back.
Yeah, it was surprising to see Rivkin not do so great.
Remain unchanged.
He ended up DNFing, but he what was interesting is he stood up there and he watched the race, and it's almost like he was kind of studying how to race a bumpy track.
Somehow Ryan Lutz has re-entered the fray and is now included in the battle for second. He gets a bit loose and taps Ty.
Ooh,
just
yeah,
enough
I was shocked that Ty didn't break there, but you can see what I mean. Like you don't want Lutz anywhere near you on the track, because he races so hard.
glimpse of Mayfield, who was checking out.
But Mayfield, I thought for sure he was gone. Usually when Ryan gets a lead like this, nobody catches him. Oops, I should have said spoiler alert, because I said usually.
Lutz would drop out of the race with a mechanical issue. This would settle down the battle for second a bit and allow Jared and Ty.
Yeah, I think Lutz blew up his Alpha. I'm not sure.
The track was really tough, and I don't know, my car was really hard to drive, and I was
This really surprised me, because I thought Jared was going to be right up there. I was just shocked. I don't know if he picked the wrong tire or what he did.
Mayfield was just driving as hard as we could, and giving everything we had, and just lost touch in the last 10 minutes. It was a bummer, but so far for 2018, I mean, my years hasn't been good, so hopefully this will turn it around. Had a great time, and yeah, it was fun.
With Lutz out of the race, Joe Bornhorst would take over fourth for his teammate. This is where he would finish the buggy final.
Got fourth in the nitro buggy. That's my best major finish. Solid third in e-buggy, fifth in truck.
Joe's pretty good. There's a famous quote by Jason Raona, who said, if you haven't won anything by 16, you're never going to be a pro. Well, Joe wasn't even in RC when he was 16. He was still doing motocross. So for him to make it is amazing. And that shot there is what got me yelled at by Zach. I was in Tebow's way on the exit. Sorry, Jared. Movie takes priority over your day job. Just kidding.
He's a bit out of
So here we see that Tessman has caught, and I think he passed Mayfield at that point. It was kind of a questionable pass, but he's around him. It was Mayfield's buggy. It seemed to really drop off. I don't know if he lost his tires or what happened, but nobody really wanted the lead, because there we saw a Ty crash, and I think Mayfield crashed into him, but Mayfield got around him. And then Ty decided, hey, I'm going to durability test my car because X-Ray's new to me. I just want to, kind of see how tough it is. Yeah, no, I don't know. Ty just didn't seem to want the lead at this point, but neither did Mayfield, because they were both screwing up equally. And there's the difference between Reds and OS at this point, because Mayfield is doing that jump as a double single, and Tessman was doing it as a triple. And yes, Mayfield was running a Reds at this race. I made sure and looked.
First half of the race, Ty was the faster of the two drivers now.
Yeah, it was just Ty just had a little bit more power, which came in handy in a couple areas. But I think Mayfield was a better rough track driver. So it really came down to, would Ty remember where the jumps were or where the bumps were and kind of clean up his lines? Because, yeah, I see again there, Ty was doing that triple every lap, whereas Mayfield was double single. Yeah, I can't remember how much time was left. I think there's like about 7 or 8 minutes left at this point.
Ty narrowly escapes casing the back double. Ryan does something far worse.
Yeah,
He
see?
flips over.
It just came down to boo-boos.
Testament. This time he would not cough out the lead. Ty would be the winner of the inaugural indoor Silver State race.
Today didn't start off super good. Truggy struggled a little bit. E-Buggy had a really rough start and just broke on the first lap. But to come back and win Buggy is pretty happy with it. My car ran flawlessly the whole time. This track is super gnarly. It's probably the hardest 45 minutes I've ever run. My eyes hurt, my head.
Hardest 45 minutes I ever filmed.
Draining for sure.
My eyes were on fire.
I actually was more worried about Jared, honestly. Just because
Yeah, me too. Like Jared and the combination of Jared and AKA on that dirt was intimidating. So I really don't know what went wrong with Jared, because he literally just fell apart in that main. Not like his buggy didn't fall apart, but Jared fell apart. Like, it's not like his arms are falling off or anything, or his legs or his ears, but his brain just fell apart.
He drove amazing. Ty drove amazing. Jared drove amazing. For this kind of track, for those guys to go around with that few of crashes, that was an amazing run for all three of them.
You know, I thought I drove
totally
well.
agree.
I thought my car worked really well. I thought my whole package was good. Fuel mileage was good. Just one untimely bump in the road and cost me eventually the win. So
That's all it takes.
It is what it is. We go racing again next week and just keep it going.
That was a crazy 45-minute race, dude. I don't know if I've quite seen one that nuts. And then I guess you don't really realize it until you walk the track, and I just went and took some banners down, and man, there is a lot of holes out there. So it's pretty gnarly and pretty high grip, so that combination together is usually not so great. But yeah, in the end, I was able to pull it out, man. It was close, but 45 minutes of chaos in that one. So happy, man. Ready to go home.
With this being another 8th scale World's year, any win gives these drivers much needed.
Yeah, so this was 1/8 World's year. This was May. The Worlds were in November. This was 2018. And this is my favorite thing. Like, the drivers, they freaking hate the spray, but I just love it. It's so cool, especially in slow-mo. It's the greatest thing ever.
Well, it's a long, tiring week.
Oh, here's Jimmy Babcock. Listen to his voice.
My voice is gone. My eyes are shot. Got a headache. I'm ready to go home, see my family and my friends. But I can't wait for the next one. Hopefully everybody can join us next year for the 29th.
His voice was just gone.
Silver State.
Jimmy isn't the only one looking ahead to the next race. For most, this will be the Roar Nationals in Florida.
Yeah, the Florida Roar Nationals, that was a good one. I really wanted to go so badly, but it was just one of those years for me. 2018 wasn't awesome. Just was unable to attend it. Tried to get somebody down there to film it, but I think they had some car problems and couldn't make it there. But Ty ended up winning it, which is good momentum for the Worlds, and so was this. And yeah, Silver State, I mean, if I had to give it a designation of Indoor Worlds, I think that's pretty fitting. Because it had so many parallels to Neo Buggy, except for the pressure. This was a really low-key, fun event.
Outdoor home, a permanent one.
Yeah, and here we're talking a little bit about Neo, because Neo no longer exists. The magazine is gone. Phil's checked out. He's run his family chain of hotels in the Bahamas or whatever. But yeah, Neo, I think for this year went outdoor. The 2018 Neo was outside, and it just wasn't the same. So this kind of, I mean, if there's a race that could be considered the Indoor Worlds, this is it.
And then have it see come to fruition, and then have all these people show up that I didn't think would show up, and then have them pat you on the back and say thanks for doing it, and they had fun. That's the highlight.
The highlight for us was how fun this race was and how it was exactly what this industry needed.
Exactly what the industry needed.
Indoor worlds or not, the Silver State race has officially been reborn.
Yeah, this was such a fun event. You know, not to like beat a dead horse, but I don't know if it's because it was in a casino and everybody was all liquored up, and just kind of relaxed and fun, or what. But it was so much fun being at this race. It was just enjoyable. It was a nice switch. There wasn't any drama. There wasn't like a lot of, bickering. There wasn't. Yeah, it was just a really fun race. I mean, there was the shank thing. So I guess there was some potential violence, but no. Anyways, Silver State was just awesome. I am so proud that Joey pulled this one off. Great job, Joey. This was exactly what the industry needed. And what I meant by that was there's a lot of negativity. In 2016, we saw Hot Bodies change ownership and go under. Kyosho was taken over by a bank, if I recall, in 17 or 18. It was just really, really nice to just get away from that. Oh, there's a rare shot of yours truly. I'm kind of camera shy, so I don't like being in these. But that's what I was wearing at that race. Oh man, there's another shot of me. Oh boy. I'm not sure what I was doing. Yeah. I don't need to be in these. I just don't. Anyways, like I was saying, this race was exactly what the industry needed. It was just so much fun. Thank you, Joey, for making this one happen. And thanks, I believe, like I said earlier in the broadcast, I think it was Kenny Johnson who put Joey in touch with the MGM folks or the ownership group behind the scenes. So yeah, it was great for everybody involved that managed to pull this one off. Like, thank you, because this was an awesome. Oh, speaking of Eclipse, there he was. He was pestering Drake like crazy. Like, Drake wanted to just end him. There's Lerone. Miss you, brother, from another mother. I can't remember what we were saying, but we were bugging him about Eclip, big time. So Canada has an Eclip. We call him C-Clip. He's from Calgary.
Oh, he's still there.
Anyways, that is Silver State, the 2018 edition of it. See, RC Kevin, there was a shanking incident. I'm not going to go into it. Somebody did pull a shank on somebody in the pits. It was pretty funny. I was filming the pit lane, but I had it zoomed in on somebody else. Otherwise, the whole thing would have been on film. It would have been classic. No, I don't do fifth scale RC Guru. It's not my thing. I just don't like it. I'm a little bit of a prima donna. I'm very opinionated, and for me, it's even painful just to film the e-buggies because it's not my favorite class. So yeah, I think in 2019 for the 2019 for the DNC2 race, I started focusing a little bit more on e-buggy, and then in Icebreaker there's a lot of e-buggy. But yeah, for this race I just focused mostly on the nitro. No gasoline powered fifth scales. It was a good turnout on that side. I think there was 50 or 80 entries, 50 to 80 entries somewhere. So it was pretty good. But like I was saying earlier in the broadcast, I'd rather have seen them do a Pros and Joe's track. Because the track I felt was a little too easy for the pros. The bumps made it very difficult, obviously, but the actual layout was pretty straightforward. There's no rhythm section, no option sections. I guess the only option section was that triple that Mayfield had a hard time making because he was down on power. That was probably an option section, sort of, but for the most part, it was an easy track for the pros. Would have loved to see a Joe's track instead of the fifth scale and a pros track, but it's not my rodeo. Yeah, Aero Dog says fifth scale is like RC lawnmowers. This is correct. RC lawnmowers. That's exactly. We have a fifth scale club here. I've never checked it out, but it's fifth scale's just not my thing. I've had nitro buggies. I think my first nitro buggy was was that Turbo Burns, or was it an Inferno? It might have been an Inferno. It was 1994, regardless. Yeah, RC Guru does fifth scale on his channel, so you may want to check RC Guru out, or Guru RC rather. Guru RC, you may make your check out to Cory Drachenberg. That's Drachenberg. You can ship it up to me up here in Canada. I accept all currencies. $1,000 has a nice ring to it. So there's your shameless plug. And he loves reptiles. I don't. Not scared of them. I'm sure Robert Bauer's scared of them. He's scared of spiders. Rodeo star. Won the Calgary Stampede. Rides 1,200-pound bulls. Scared of ants. Oh, is there anything else I can tell y'all about Silver State? It was awesome. I hope it happens again. I would totally go down there again if it happened. We got in a yelling match. That was pretty awesome. So Guru RC's asked me how I feel about the Serpent Buggy. I don't know a lot about the Serpent Buggy. The popular buggies up here are the X-Ray, the Associated. We have we have one or two Kyoshos and then a crap ton of Mugans. So I don't know a lot about the Serpent Buggy. I think their quality is really good. Oh, and if you ever do order something from DeSoto, those little packing peanuts it's not styrofoam, it's cornstarch, and they dissolve in water. It's amazing. I just found this out like a couple weeks ago. Just unbelievable. So anything from DeSoto Racing or RC America, those peanuts, the packing peanuts, they dissolve in water. It's wow. It's just mind blown. Guru RC's asked about Nova Rossi engines. They're okay. They're not like they last forever, but they're done on power. OS is kind of the only engine I would recommend. Did I party? No, I didn't party. I'm not into that. I had a few beers, after each day of shooting. But the problem with alcohol and me is it puts me to sleep. So I tend to not drink too heavily. I've only been drunk, I think, twice in my life. So yeah, I'm not much of a drinker, but I know there's a few people that did partake. Ryan Cavalieri, nicest guy drunk. He's amazing drunk. Just love him to pieces when he's drunk. Noigel is asking me. Sorry, my Restream chat is on my laptop over to the right, so I just had to look. I was asked, what would I like to see changed or different at Silver State? The only thing, like I said, Pro Track, Joe Track, no fifth scale. Because in 2019 they had a practice track and then the track, but Joe Track, Pro Track, done. That's the only thing. This race was probably my favorite race that I've ever attended as a racer. It was so much fun. Like, I just loved it. I just loved it. No chance of a rain out. The vibe was fun. When I went in 2019, I thought, well, would it have that party atmosphere? Would it have that laid back kind of almost a club race vibe to it? Just a really big club race vibe to it. Yes, I do need glasses. Thanks for the heads up, Andrea. Anyways, like I was saying, I was worried that 2019 wouldn't have that same vibe, but it did. It was such a fun event. Both years I was there. 2018 I was just camera guy. 2019 I was racer, and it was super fun. Loved it. One of my favorite races. So it's put it on your bucket list. It's not a terribly expensive race because Joey gets a really good deal on the hotel rooms. I think it was like $60 a night or $68 a night. I can't remember. It was a decent price to get there. It's just super fun. Go to Silver State. It's awesome. And if you have the choice, DNC or Silver State, forget DNC. Just go to Silver State. DNC is awesome, but February in California is a little chilly. But DNC is happening in a couple weeks, so good luck. It's going to be awesome for everybody who's going. Enjoy it. What else? I'm just seeing if anything else is coming up on the chat. Any other tidbits? So Ryan did not run a Reds in the Truggy main. He was down on power, as you saw in Buggy, but it was really evident in Truggy, so there's that. Probably going to get sued again. More on the sued again comment when we do the Perth Worlds. It's all good. That's the next video, I think. In a couple weeks, I'll do that one. What else should I say? Kind of run out of things to talk about on Silver State. It was awesome. I hope it happens this May. I was really shocked that Joey's pulling off the DNC in a couple weeks. I just did a quick promo video for him. Actually, one thing I could talk about, I was asked to commission to do a kind of a RC Legends or Legends of RC segment on Daniel Adams, because Daniel is transitioning from being the team manager to working in the tool room for Proline/Horizon. So that's exciting. We're shooting the interview. I think Proline and I are working on that. I think on Friday we're shooting a video with Daniel, asking him a couple questions about his career as the Proline Racing team manager. Interestingly enough, Daniel actually thought that this Silver State race that we just watched would be his last race as team manager. He did it for another year. I think he was still around for the 2019 season. But with 2020 and COVID and all that crap, it was at that point that he transitioned into the tool room. So yeah, this was Daniel's last race as team manager, and he was so fun to deal with. Like, I really enjoyed Daniel. The first time I met him was obviously at the Reedy race at IERC, which was Inland Empire RC. I believe it was the old owners of. I think he ended up buying Thunder Alley or something. Can't remember the guy's name. He's kind of crazy, but that was the first time I met Daniel, was at IERC, and it was we clicked right away. He's an awesome guy, amazing team manager. Everybody loved him. Thank you for everything you did for Proline and the team management side. They've totally changed their whole team structure. I think Tommy Tran is now their main team manager, and they've gone to like regional guys. Blah blah blah. So yeah, this was one of the last races I did with Daniel. There's only one other that I did with Daniel. It was DNC2. We'll do that one in about a month. Because next is Perth Worlds. Perth Worlds are awesome, except for the broadcast company. But that's a story for 2 weeks from now. Anything else? Nothing's coming up on the chat. Our viewership's going up for some reason, but yeah, it's starting to run out of things to say. Today's coffee was brought to you by Ménage à Trois. It's super fun. If you're in the liquor store, find one of the workers there that's somewhat attractive and say, "Hey, I'm looking for threesome." It's really entertaining, highly fun. Recommend you try it out. So that's my coffee, and this is my mug. All right, so I'm totally running out of things to say here. So yeah, 2 weeks from now, Wednesday, whatever the date is, Perth Worlds. Amazing event. Just loved it. Lots of drama, lots of storylines. It's great. Hope to see lots of you guys there. In the meantime, I hope you all stay safe and enjoy COVID. Enjoy the politics that we're all bombarded with right now. Do your best to ignore them. Stay sane. Jesus loves you. Peace out.